Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I wanted to talk about my plans and all the different activities I want to do for 2026, and maybe you'll be interested in one of them, some of them, all of them. I'm not sure. So I'm going to start out with the simplest, as in the least time intensive, and then it's going to build. So you can pop in for any portion throughout 2026 and hopefully get some value and some creativity and inspiration and motivation from some of the things that I have planned. So the first one, and this is new to me, but I love this so much. So folks that are bird watchers, birders, they do this thing where they go out January 1st and they look to see what the first bird is that they can find. And that first bird they see is what sort of sets the tone for their year ahead. It's what symbolizes their year. So there's a bunch of web pages I'll link in the description box along with the supplies I'm showing and talking about. But I thought this was really, really cool. So what I've done, this is my planner. It's a gallon leather with a Nolte cover for my 2025. And I think I can get 4 years out of this. This was my title page for 2025. And I drew a greater racket-tailed drongo, which is from Asia, Southeast Asia, so India, Bangladesh, southern China, islands of Borneo and Java. And then I drew a resplendent quetzal, which is in South America, so southern Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua. It keeps going. Okay, so you get the point. I really love these birds. They have fantastic tail feathers, but they're not personal to me. I just aesthetically find them both stunning. So I thought for my 2026 title page that I would draw the first bird I see, and I can either do like a male and female, or I can do the first bird I see plus another bird that I think is beautiful. I happen to play favorites. I really like the lilac-breasted roller, which is found in southern Africa. If that is the first bird you see, I'm jealous. I am jealous and love that for you, and in the best possible supportive way. I think that'd be amazing. Anyway, so for example, if the first bird you see is a robin, apparently that signifies like renewal, adaptability. Crow is wit, problem solving. Stork, good luck, new life, familyness. A bald eagle, a year of strength, tenacity, resourcefulness. A blue jay, a year that will be lively and smart. So you're supposed to look, you're supposed to listen, you're supposed to be patient and pay attention. And then so that's one thing I'm going to do. And I say that this is the easiest and smallest because this is one of those projects where you get out what you put in. So if you decide that the first bird you see is something you want to draw over and over and over, then you can get endless amounts of inspiration and motivation from that. But if it's something you just want to draw once and like honor once, then this is just a one-time thing you can participate in, and you don't have to worry about, some of the more intensive drawing challenges that are really hard to keep up, especially if you have a really busy schedule and those things are just too much. So again, first bird you see January 1st. And if you want to tag me on Instagram or leave a message on one of my videos or email me, yes, all the yes. I want to see what your first bird is, and I will definitely be announcing and saying what my first bird is. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to do, okay, it can be seen. This is a phonology wheel, and I have this PDF now up on my webpage. I put it up last night in case you're like, I was just there in your resources page and I didn't see it. So you go to my webpage, you click the link resources, and on the right hand side you'll see P&P printables, and the fifth one down is phonology wheel. And this is what it looks like. There's no additional writing or anything. I'm not selling anything. Art's for everybody. And what this is a wheel that's divided 12 ways. If you're listening to this and you're not looking at your screen, it's literally a circle divided into 12. And once a month, you draw or paint or create or collage or put in something that designates that month for you. So I would put, because my memory, I'd put 2026, and then I'd start here with January, and this could be Feb, and you get what I'm saying. So you label it. There's some printables you can find, and they have an additional ring that has seasons, like it'll say spring, summer, fall, winter. But I found that all of those were Northern Hemisphere centric and very exclusionary. So that's why mine is kind of basic. There's some that I think you have to purchase that are divided into 30, and then they have like the moon phases, and you would do one a month. But this is just a once a month thing. So I will have one video a month where I'm drawing or creating each individual thing. Now, if you're not into illustration, but you want to participate, there's tons of ways to do this and bring what you love to do into this. So if you're into woodworking, you could literally like paint the stain that you use the most that month in each little wheel. If you're into sewing and creating fabric products or projects, you could literally glue in a little piece of fabric or staple or stitch a piece of fabric into each square of a project that you completed that month. If you're into music, you could literally print some sheet music and cut a little wedge. Like, it'd be funny to do like Vivaldi's Spring or like the Sugar Plum Fairy in December. Like, you could do themed music, like piano sheets. That'd be really, really beautiful. You could do a poem or a motivational quote that inspires you. It doesn't have to be something drawn. I mean, ideally, you'd probably want to print it on something a little thicker, especially if you're going to try painting and using wetter media. It'll give it longevity, and then you could keep printing and doing one a year, and then it would have a really cool book after about a decade. If you're working on color matching, you could literally walk outside the first day of each month and color match to the color of the sky, and it would just be beautiful shades of blue. Like, you could keep this as simple as you want or as complex as you need. Your imagination really is the limit for this. I mean, you could sort of put this on, oh gosh, I don't know that I know what they're called. You get the fabric and the hoops, and then you could embroider a sort of phonology wheel. I will throw up an example of one that's been stitched, but you could totally stitch one. Again, collage, any medium you can think of. Anything you want to get out of it. If you just want to do a little practice of drawing once a month, you've completed a 1-year drawing challenge that had 12 parts. And I think this is a really neat way to participate in something that you can make as time intensive as you want it to be, okay? And again, this is a free printable that's on my webpage. Okay, the third thing, and it's gonna ramp up real quick. I'm gonna throw up a picture of the book. I don't own the book yet. I will be purchasing it, so I have a physical copy, and that is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Now, there has been a few different, at least a dozen YouTube creators that have done this program. It's a 12-week program that she has built into this book with mixed results. And I really wanted to figure out a way to do the artist's way, our way, to do it in a way that's inclusive. So I'm going to talk about what's needed, what's desired for this, and then we're going to talk about some of the things that maybe deter you from doing this, or if you've tried it and weren't able to complete it, we're going to address this stuff, okay? So the first thing I want to say, and she wrote this in 92, but there's like a 30th anniversary edition that was published in 2016. So I think some of the language has been updated because there was some problematic stuff in the first edition. This is a writing intensive artistic journey, and the whole thing is sort of, the purpose of this is to just connect with your creative self and sort of get yourself over some of the mental hurdles you might be facing or experiencing that you've never addressed, or you don't know you have, you maybe have blocked it. So she is coming at this from a writer's perspective, so this is very writing heavy. She is also in recovery. She was an alcoholic and a substance abuser, so there is some of that language and flow within the book that I think is important to note. When I read, because I got an ebook from the library, so when I read the entire book, I wanted to see how low-buy this could be. And there's the writing proponent, which She asks you every day to do what's called morning pages, where you wake up and you write 3 pages a day. Okay, we'll address that. She asks you to take yourself out on an artist date, where you can go someplace. It could be a walk, it could be a museum, and you go with yourself and you take yourself out on something that you find inspirational, motivational once a week. Now, I think one of the main issues with this book is the amount of work required. So instead of doing this as a 3-month, 12-week program, I'm going to extend it to 6 months. So this is going to be a January to June thing for me. And so I'm going to spend 2 weeks per 1 week, if that makes sense, to get this all done. Because I think if you work full-time, or you have 3 part-time jobs, or you're a student, or you have small children, or you just have a very active life, like life is just there. And I think it's really, really hard to expect folks to be able to do all this within a 1-week time frame when I read all the different things required. So what you absolutely need for this, again, I'm buying a used copy of the book, so I'm going to keep this to my low buy as much as possible, and notebooks. So if you're doing it like I'm doing it, and you're doing 3 pages a day, you would need at least 500 pages for 6 months. Like it's a lot. So alternatives, you could grab any paper you want. You could grab cheap copy paper and staple bound books. You could use notebooks from back to school, composition notebooks, whatever's on the cheap. So if you're trying to keep this as budget as possible with all this writing, you're gonna need something, some sort of notebook, and multiple notebooks. And I think that's the biggest expense here. I went through to sort of see and highlight all the things you have to pay for. And there's like an extra date she wants you to take yourself on, an activity, 5 postcards, sort of a weekend trip, but I think you could do a staycation and keep it free. I think there's ways to finagle this a little bit. An additional little mini notebook, but I think you can bind or staple your own from other paper. And then there's a sort of spoil yourself item. She mentions like a nice new pair of gloves or a brand new pair of socks. I think you could hit up the thrift store and find something beautiful. But I would also say that as an artist and creator, hands being a very important tool that you possess, a nice pair of gloves is priceless to protect your hands. And then a jar with a lid, and I think that could be upcycled from a grocery item. So spaghetti sauce jar, an old candle jar, applesauce jar and lid. So I think you could get away with doing this whole thing on the cheap. Like I could anywhere from $20 to $50 US for the 6 months, depending on how many notebooks you have and how many notebooks you buy and what you want your notebook situation to look like. You could get away with this. And there's a bunch of websites that talk about doing artist dates on the cheap where you don't pay for anything. Like you take yourself to the park. Gosh, I even made a list and I don't even know if I can find it. Go for a walk, go to the library, check out a brand new bookstore you've never been to, but just browse, not buying anything. Go into free galleries, any nature location, farmers markets. You could do a stay-at-home date where you bake or cook something new, make a collage or art project. Stargazing, that one's tons of fun. Going for a scenic drive, checking out public art in your location or another location, like murals and stuff. Any free events or free outdoor concerts. People watching in public. There's tons of fun art dates you can do that are super budget to keep to, if you're doing a no buy, a low buy, a budget, if you're on a limited income, there's ways to do this. So I've addressed those things. The other things I feel need to be talked about within her book program are, the writing. Again, she is coming at this from the perspective of a writer. Now, I think writing is very valuable. I journal every single evening. I do 1 page a night. It's A5 size. Journaling is very different than morning pages. Journaling is like a summation of the day. You're summarizing what's happened. You're talking about your feelings. You're processing what's going on. Morning pages is sort of a brain dump. You would literally wake up and you're like, I had the craziest dream last night. It was wild. Or you literally wake up and start writing. I have nothing to write about. I don't know what I should say. What am I supposed to do for 3 pages? This is crazy pants. Why did I sign up for this? Why did Kendra think this was a good idea? And then you have 3 pages of that, okay? 2 totally different things. And that needs to be stated. What also needs to be stated is this is not inclusive to folks with physical conditions. So if you suffer from arthritis or carpal tunnel, maybe it's something a bit more medical like ADD, ADHD, and like hyper-focusing on 3 pages is just not realistic. There are alternatives. 1, you don't have to use a letter size. It doesn't have to be huge pieces of paper. You could write small. I mean, you're somebody like me who has hand cramps, or, you know, if you have trouble focusing, a smaller journal could be the way to go. There's also like notes apps, typing. You could do things through your phone. Like there's voice to text applications you can buy for your phone. I found a couple that were free that you can record. So Rev is one, Voice Memos is another, but there are apps you can buy that do voice to text. So you could literally wake up, turn your phone on, and just talk into it, and you've done your morning pages, okay? So if you think this is not something that you're capable of doing like physically, or maybe you're on a neurodivergent spectrum and it's just like, you're like, I remember doing schooling. This feels like schooling and that wasn't fun for me. There's different ways to do this. You can totally customize this from where you're at, since she wrote this from where she's at, if that makes sense. Like it's okay to do this. It's okay to write less. I plan on only doing 1 page a day that's A5 size. And that's my compromise to myself to make sure I'm still doing my journaling in the evening, okay? I write small. I fit a lot in, and that's how I'm going to approach this. Now, oh gosh, my notes got smaller. Okay, you could even write like every other day if it's too much and your hands need breaks, okay? So there's ways to do this. On a budget, there's ways to do this that are inclusionary. The other thing that I think turns people off from this book, from this writer, from doing this program, is her spirituality. And she throws in the word God a lot. But she also says like this could be replaced with higher power or the universe. I like to think of it as like a creative muse. I happen to be an atheist, so I've always moved through life getting value from different things, even if they're of a religion or something I'm not used to, by just being objective. I objectively look at things and say, okay, but what's the value here? And if I'm ignoring this word or just not reading it as something personal to me, what other things and pieces, parts can I get from this? And I understand like marginalized communities where religion has been weaponized against you. I do not know what that feels like. I do not understand, but I get that religion can be very triggering and complicated and personal, and just it can be a lot. So I would encourage you, as I'm going to do, as to move through this and find the pieces that are of value. Because I think there's a lot of value in this book for motivation, for inspiration, for connecting with my creative self. Like I think as someone who draws and paints, doing the writing, which is another creative outlet, I think they only complement and enhance each other. Like I think the morning pages alone are worth its weight in gold. So I'm already sold with that one portion. Everything else from there is just going to be an added bonus because I know the benefits of journaling at night. So I just reframe this in your mind, because she just writes God throughout it. And that's like her shorthand version of, you know, maybe you think of it as a creative force. Okay. If that's a sticking point for you and a hard limit, I absolutely get it if this book's not for you and this is not something you're interested in even checking out any of my videos. I totally understand. Another thing in here is how deep some of these tasks and asks are, because on top of the morning pages, there's still a lot to write. There's letters, there's lists, there's tons of write-ups. You're going to check in at the end of every week with a write-up. Like there's quizzes, you'll do like a wish list. There's drawings that are being asked. I went through everything. One's like you make a map, lots and lots of writing, okay, with all the activities. Yeah, like one week there's 3 different lists plus 2 different write-ups. So with that writing, with the morning pages, she's delving deep into very personal subject matter, like where you were discouraged, maybe you were shamed. Like it's very deep work emotionally, and there aren't resources within this book to handle some of that digging deep. So I would encourage you to have someone on the ready, maybe someone in your safety, family, friend group, or community, a therapist, an advisor, a mentor, a counselor, somebody that you can speak with once you hit some of this hard work, because it's going to trudge up some painful past experiences, some painful memories, and you're asked to like write that out and acknowledge that, to process it so you could then move beyond it. Like I get the point. The point is processing the stuff. And once you process, you can keep moving. And where you move to is where the creation and the art happens. So you kind of have to do some of the deep work. I'm just worried that some of this is going to be triggering and painful, and it's going to get you stuck, and you're not going to have someone to turn to that can help you with it. Okay? So make sure that in starting this, you have a place to go, a person to go to where you can just talk it out, even if it's a friend, because everybody's had people like discourage them in one way or another throughout their lives. Okay, and that's just an example. But I think that's something that this book doesn't prep folks for. You know, maybe you're like me and you're incredibly sensitive. Just, I see you. I know how that goes. So, all the writing, the artist dates, there are ways to do this free, the religion aspect, the very heavy, deep subject matter. I get it. This is a lot. This is a lot for 6 months. And I don't know how I would even do this in 12 weeks. I think I could if I wasn't recording it and I did it in the evenings. Insomnia has given me extra hours. But yeah, so this is how I choose to move through the first half of the year, along with looking at my bird and doing a little phenology doodle, you know, once a month, along with my daily drawings, okay? Now, the second half of the year, I'm changing direction, and I'm moving to a different book. And this one is called Make Your Creative Dreams Real, a plan for procrastinators, perfectionists, busy people, and people who would rather sleep all day. Yes, sign me up. Okay, and this is by Sark, and if you're like, what is that name? It stands for Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy. And this was written in 2005. And this program is meant to be a 1-year program. And when I read through the digital copy, it felt like too much time and too much space. So with the first one, felt too condensed and like too much work, like 10 tasks plus the morning papers plus the date in 7 days. Like you need 14 for that. This one felt like too much space for what she's asking. And this is very much a different thing. So the first book was to connect with your creative self. This book is very much to set a creative goal or a creative dream, and then you make action steps towards achieving that at the end of this book. Like throughout this book, you're making a creative dream come true. Okay, so we're gonna unlock the creative self, and then we're gonna pick a dream or a goal, and we're gonna achieve it. That's what this year is going to look like. And so when I went through this book to see what this entailed, you definitely need notebooks as well. There's lots of lists, write-ups, drawing. There's much more art drawing sort of collage challenges. At the end of each section, she has a reading list if you want to read a book. These are all recommended, not required. It's very loosey-goose. I'm here for it. December is always a busy month, and so the second half of my year always ramps up, so that's nice that that's optional. Plus there's like web pages you can visit for additional motivation and inspiration. You're going to be writing letters, emails, there's certain activities. You're going to be sort of creating a little peer review group, and you can do that with one other person or someone you trust, a friend. Lots of writing, lots of lists, and then the web page visits and the reading recommendations. So, and again, I'm shrinking this 1 year thing into 6 months. I already know what my goal is. It's very specific. And so I'm going to be tailoring that to my goal. I've already sort of put up a coming soon link on my webpage for it. And it's something I want to give back to artists and hopefully my community, if my community is interested. So we're going to create, and your goal can be very simple. And what I mean by simple is just something that isn't quite as time intensive as what I have planned. It could be something that's, I just want to create more. It could be very like, open-ended. I want to create once a week. I want to create 3 times a week. It could be something like I want to publish a book, or I want to have my art in a public space for sale. And you work towards a goal because you have to start somewhere. So it could be like coffee shops, or our bank has local art. And then you're building towards having a gallery showing or something, okay? Very something goal that's very tailored to you. So once we unlock this creativity that we have blocked or burnt out, we then set the goal for July through December and then make that happen. And I will be buying this book, Gently Used, as well. And I will link these books in the description box. So that is my year planned. You're like, why? I'm still going to be drawing every day. I'm not going to be doing specific drawing challenges. I just think it's too much. So it's very going to be self-care of just whatever my mood is. And I'll just be drawing in a book. I'm going to have 2 sketchbooks for next year. And I will do a haul video in December. I will explain all the things. But I wanted to announce this now. Okay, this is mid-November. This gives you at least 5 weeks to find these books. If you're interested, maybe pop into your local library. I don't know if they're going to have the SARC book. That's kind of very specific. But most libraries, I would like to think, have a version of The Artist's Way. Check it out, read it, be thorough, be honest with yourself. If next year looks like a nightmare of appointments, be like, you know what, no, this isn't for me, or this isn't for 2026, but keep it as an idea, maybe for later. And then you can try this at your leisure in 2028. I just think that there's a lot to be gained from both these books. And there's such unique, differing approaches solving creative problems that I want to do both. And I want to mush them into a year, and I want to draw, and I want to create, and I want to have some other fun things that are not quite as intense, that if you're just popping in doing a one-off video, this could be a fun idea. I mean, you don't have to start this in January. You absolutely don't have to. If your birthday's in April and that is where you start your year, then start it and do an April to April. For me and labeling, like if you're gonna April 25 to March 26, or April 26 to March 27, make sure that you label accordingly, because when you go back, you're going to want to know. So I hope this video found you well, first and foremost. I hope it inspired some ideas. I hope it triggered a couple things of interest, of points of curiosity. I think having curiosity in anything art just helps feed that creation. So check your local library, check your used bookstores, see if there are other folks that might own the book that you can borrow and check it out. See if that's something that interests you. Again, the SARC book might be more difficult to find. There are reviews online. Yeah. It's going to be a wild 2026, but I think it's going to be tons of fun. And I want to do things every year that are unique and help. Not just me, but hopefully help you too. And 2025 was very much finishing all my sketchbooks that I own and just hunkering down and creating and doing themed things throughout the year. And that was a lot of fun, and it was its own challenge. But this year I'm going to be moving into 2026, very loosey-goose, very free-form, leaning into my moods, and then putting in the work to sort of move through and do some of the mental health work that artists definitely need a refresh for, and motivation, just a little extra push. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you an idea or two. I'd be interested to see what you're interested in. If you would like me to create a link on my website where there's a specific page for 2026, put that in the comment section down below, or you can email me and I can sort of do a visual breakdown with more links and notes and things. But only if you're interested. If you're not, I won't worry about it, and you can just rewatch this video and pause and ask questions. But if you'd like something in writing on my website, let me know and I will create something for that, and we can have that as a reference to move through the year. So I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.